Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Oscar De La Hoya is definitely trying to find a way to win, although he's probably pissing a lot of people off at the same time because nobody wants to hear from Oscar De La Hoya right now. One day he wants to be friends with everybody. The next day he wants to hate them. Next day he's getting on social media, talking about Al Heyman is a piece of crap. He's tired of the crap and all the shady business deals and all the politics. Wants to work with Eddie Hearn, but then he says he's the best promoter in the United States. He won't give Eddie Hearn any credit for coming over here to the United States and just being worldwide pretty effective promoter. Doesn't want to give Bob Arum any credit. De La Hoya, one day he's hot, one day he's cold. I don't know what the hell this story is, but what I do know is my boy Chicken De La Hoya, a golden boy, or whatever little funny little synonyms you want to use or adjectives you want to use to describe him. I have a couple clever words I'd like to use to describe the guy. He's trying to block Spence and Thurman. He is really trying to block that fight. Now, I guess it doesn't hurt. Like they say, if you want to be seen, make some noise, right? Look, he's out here, and he's got a lot of pull. Some of the things De La Hoya pulls off with the WBC and that guy Mauricio Sulaiman makes you wonder. But we know it's nothing wrong with these guys having connections and that common thread, Mexican blood and all that. Nothing wrong with that. Hey man, network. Do what you gotta do. If it makes money, it makes sense. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, but my thing is this. Don't come now and try to block Spence, Thurman, and saying what should happen is there should be an eliminator for Thurman and Virgil Ortiz, and the winner of that guy gets Spence. Don't come out here, man, trying to throw a wrench in the plans because you're not doing a good job as a promoter for your guy Virgil Ortiz. There was a picture that somebody posted on a website earlier. I put it on my Facebook page. I wonder if I could. I'm not going to put it in here, man. I'll probably do another video on it. But it showed De La Hoya, Golden Boy. I mean, this guy had, excuse me, right? He had the Charlo boys. He had Angulo. He had, Shane Mosley was in the picture. Earl Spence is in the picture. He had a lot of those top fighters in that image. And to think, and Wilder was in the picture, to think he had all of that talent over that Golden Boy. But for some reason, things fell apart and all the guys went over to Al Heyman. Right? So it is what it is. But obviously there were some things that he could have done better. And, I'm just not sure Oscar De La Hoya has really sorted things out. These fighters have lost respect for De La Hoya. And it's like I say, when you see these guys come out and they start going word for word with you, back and forth, and they don't even care about what he did as a fighter anymore because De La Hoya has just done so much crap since really retiring. And it all started with the image of him. I don't know what the hell he had on, a crab trap, a fishnet pantyhose, a panties, boxing gloves, and was high as a damn kite in that picture, right? Ever since then, nobody's been able to take this man serious. And I'm not trying to make light of anybody with, drug problems and stuff like that and need to go to rehab and then relapsing and marriages falling apart, having kids by multiple women, that's, children are affected, families are affected, you know what I mean? He's affected, It's a sad situation, but what happens is when you're underneath a microscope like that, you got to try to become invisible. Stealth mode, shut up. But damn, it's like he just keeps making more and more noise. Talking about, I'm tired of being quiet and I'm going to talk now and that's as the golden boy and people know I fought the best and okay, we know, easy. We know you're not that guy anymore, man. Okay, you've messed up your legacy. You ruined your image. Now, you need to try he needs to try his best to hold on to old Virgil Ortiz. The same way Leonard Ellerbe and Mayweather better do their best to hold on to Tank Davis. Because I'm going to be honest with you. him trying to line up Virgil Ortiz with Keith Thurman, you know, maybe Ortiz beats him. I mean, Ortiz has 100% of knockouts for a reason. But maybe he doesn't. But he better be careful because a guy like Ortiz needs to be fighting more often. And you know who seems to be able to get guys fights? Is Eddie Hearn. Whether you like Eddie Hearn or not, Eddie Hearn seems to be the guy who can get fights for fighters. He can have them fighting 3-4 times a year. And guys are going to get paid good money. But at the same time, Eddie Hearn is very particular about who he chooses to invest in now. Because DAZN, you know, they're taking a steel toe boot and they're shooting it at Eddie Hearn's backside. And they're not trying to hit the left side. They're not trying to hit the right side of his backside. They're trying to land that boot sideways and right in the middle. And it's going in the hole. And so Eddie Hearn has to make sure everything that he puts together boxing-wise that involves DAZN is a grand slam. And like he's knocking it out the park. Because if not, can't afford to take any more financial losses. Everything he has to do has to be a win. With a guy like Virgil Ortiz, yeah, he's known, but he's not, you know, he's not known, like he's not a worldwide name, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know if Ortiz is someone that, Eddie Hearn would want to invest in. But we know Eddie Hearn, man, he's got his tongue hanging out his mouth for Tank Davis. He's licking his chops. But if he can get his hand on some really solid talent that has been marketed well and it's almost like a turnkey operation, just pick him up, put him in a new under a new banner, put him in the ring. That's it. Eddie Hearn will be, you know, this man will be beyond words, which will probably blow everybody's mind. But for Keith Thurman and Virgil Ortiz and this guy De La Hoya, it's not going to happen. You know, he was begging and pleading for Suleiman and those guys at the convention to block Spence and Thurman from happening, man. And, you know, that's just, unfortunately for him, Thurman and Spence is going to happen. WBC has a lot of pull. And to be quite frank, gotta excuse me, right? To be quite frank, when it comes to boxing, the WBC is tired too. They're under a lot of pressure to make the fights fans want to see. And let's just be honest. Virgil Ortiz is a good fighter. Good fighter. I'd want to see him fight anyone because he brings it. But at the end of the day, who would you rather see? Ortiz and Thurman? That gets a round of applause, right? Or Ortiz and Spence. That shit gets or Thurman and Spence. That gets a standing ovation. So, of course, the WBC is going to go with Thurman and Spence. And plus, they owe Thurman one, okay? It is what it is. The man gave up the WBC belt so they could go out there and make their money off the sanctioning fees. Promise him first right of refusal. You come back, so he getting his shot. I mean, it's the right thing to do, okay? But you know what's something that is interesting? You know, I got to do a video on it. Amantis Stanionis, this man has been paid step-aside money twice. That's why he hasn't been fighting. He's still training and chilling. He's getting paid step-aside money, a couple million to step aside and allow fights to happen. I don't know if you guys knew that. For the Yugas fight and now for this fight, step-aside money twice. So Stanionis is like, shit, he in Lithuania and he's chilling. And he's like, yeah, y'all give me a couple million, no problem. For doing nothing, yeah, y'all go ahead and fight and kill each other. I'll make my little 2 million here, 4 million here, and I'll sit here and get rich in Lithuania. Eat my little bread and drink my little soup, and y'all go out there and kill each other. So Stanionis is in a good space financially. But at the same time, you know, you gotta keep working because when he gets that call, he don't want to show that, you know, he's developed the Andy Ruiz syndrome, where you get some good money and now you no longer have that hunger to want to go out there and be the best. You know, you're just looking for handouts. That's just not how it works. But that being said, man, I'm just waiting to hear from Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman been quiet as a mouse. And we all know that's not Keith Thurman's personality. But I'm really looking forward to hearing what Keith Thurman has to say. It's going to be interesting, man. I can't wait. I can't wait for this Thurman and Spence. Y'all can talk about Crawford and Spence all you want. That's the fight we want to see, right, for the undisputed. But Thurman and Spence is the fight. Even if it would have been Thurman and Crawford, like Crawford really needed a Thurman more than Spence. You know, Spence has been out here banging with some pretty big names. Crawford, you know, he's out here handling business, but he needed the Thurman fight more than Spence. Spence fought Porter and Garcia. Crawford fought Porter. So if he would have fought, let's say, Porter and Thurman, then they'd be even. I fought these two, you fought those two, one opponent in common. You know, it kind of works out. I'm not talking about the Kell Brook. I know him too, but I'm talking about Spence, Garcia, and Thurman. You know, between those three guys, Garcia, Porter, and Thurman. You have those three, one common opponent between Spence and Crawford and Porter, and then you have Garcia over there with Spence and Thurman with Crawford. But now it looks like Crawford would have only had one fight with Sean Porter, and Spence would have had fights against all three of them. So going into negotiations against Crawford, that's good, especially if he eats Thurman up, you know what I mean? If he goes out there and just totally dismantles Thurman. I mean, Crawford talked about he felt he was getting, you know, screwed his deal, like a 65-35 or something like that. Well, what do you think it's going to be if Spence comes out here and demolishes Thurman and you kind of get to a decision with the Venetian? It's not going to be no 65-35, man. Well, like 80-20. So, man, Spence and Crawford, we'll see what happens with those guys. But, man, I'm telling you, man, if Spence can get through them first 4 rounds, man, the rest of that fight going to be crazy. Because I'll tell you what, Spence has shown that he's great. Thurman used to be great, but now he's good. A great fighter normally dominates the good fighter. But at the end of the day in boxing, like I always say, the best fighter doesn't win the fight. It's the fighter who boxes the best on that night. And that's what we have to wait and see what happens with Thurman and Spence. But what we know about De La Hoya is they're looking to block that fight, block any fight they can to get Ortiz in something, you know, because Oscar De La Hoya wants to deliver that to his man, but he's just not on top of his game. And that's the end of the story. He's got his buddies running the Golden Boy, and it's just all chaos. It's all bad, man. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm looking forward to it. But that being said, shout out to everybody from all 7 continents. Appreciate the support. Shout out to all the veterans. Like the channel if you want to support financially. Got opportunities at PayPal, Cash App. Super thanks. It would mean a lot to me. I really appreciate it. But as always, y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.